Welcome one, welcome all to episode 205 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, November 25th, 2023. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. And in this episode, we see news of a major Xbox IP making its return after 10 years. The Xbox hardware sales in Europe are way down. It is a staggering number. And there is the now infamous Xbox tax discussion that does bear a bit of weight, more so than you might imagine. Worth discussing at the very least. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I am doing good. It's a 4-day weekend for me, and as such, I destroyed my sleep schedule. So good on me. And so I'm up early, trying to reset it before Monday because if I give myself a couple of days, then a good chance I might actually do it. But outside of that, buddy, I'm working off of the new PC, man. I've been building this thing. Yeah, I've been building or getting a category of parts together and slowly putting it all together. I want to try and make the next gen Xbox in my home before Phil Spencer has a chance to sell one to me. So I've put together parts and stuff, and I haven't got everything, but I've got enough to get it working. And oh boy, I tell you, man, the jump from a 2017 like pre-built Alienware to like current cutting edge tech nowadays is staggering.
Is it
both in the PC realm as far as like performance, but also on the wallet?
Yeah, I can imagine. Goodness. I will tell you, I chuckled because, and I'll tell listeners, he was very excited about this, but he was like in our group chat, like our voice chat while we were playing Call of Duty, talking to Kevin and I about, he's like, okay, I think I need to do this and this. And Kevin and I are just like, no idea what he's talking about. And it goes back to something we talked about last week where you gave me some details and I was like, all right, that's enough.
Oh yeah.
And then listeners were like, no, that's not enough. What else is going on? And I thought that was funny.
Yeah. I knew as soon as we got into the conversation, like if I went general, people would be annoyed because they'd want to know like precise types of details for specs and stuff, because it makes a big difference. It really does. But yeah, it's so working on the new system, it's fantastic. It looks really cool. I realize I have a ton of like years of trying to migrate files from one to another. But I'm doing it like piecemeal so that I don't like just grab all the junk that I don't need and dump it onto this new system. So it was a very busy Friday. We canceled like all our plans and stuff, and I worked on it so that I could be able to get things up and running for our podcasts this weekend. But it's fantastic. It's amazing. The speed is great. My old graphics card, it's so nice. It's like it's working, but I'm actually seeing the results of it actually being able to do its work.
That's cool. Now, I would imagine your words of kindness are connected to getting this.
Yes, because it's partly because of the community that I have with Keelhauled, that have not only helped me with like understanding like who or like who I should be watching videos for and stuff like that, but they're also the ones that funded this too. So they helped me kind of, and it was just like over the months, each Patreon cash out came in, and I would take that and I would put it towards a couple new parts and stuff like that. So the Keelhauled community has absolutely helped kind of grow this over the last, probably the last 5 or 6 months at this point. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's so good, dude. And I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what you can do with it, if it changes your content delivery, if it just streamlines it, whatever you decide to do. That's awesome, man. And so shout out to Keelhauled for that support, for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. How about you? How was your week?
Week was good. I only had 2 work days and then time off, which was much needed. for sure. I want to shout out to several people, just quite a few, and nebulous as such when I say this. I had a lot of people reach out to me as a result of some of the interviews I'd done, both Immortals of Avium and War Tales. And War Tales came out. Not a ton of people checked out that interview because we're right at the holiday, right?
Yeah. No
But I
one's
had,
talking.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone's it's pretty quiet news week, right?
Mm.
Justin Biggers, he wrote in on YouTube thanking me for the War Tales interview, saying he's going to download it on Game Pass as a result of it. I had a ton of people, like too many to count at this point, well over 10, too many to count. A lot of people reach out and say, "Hey, I'm checking out Immortals of Avium thanks to this interview," which was cool.
Yeah.
It really made my day because it was weird watching that info go out because there was some breaking news in it. But Windows Central did their own interview after mine, and they cited, of course, their own interview. But like some people cited me, some people cited them. But I had a lot of people check out the interview, which was really cool, and that meant a
Yeah.
lot to me because it was it was months in progress. Listeners will know it took me months to get that done. And sometimes it's like that, right? Like I've had
Yeah.
Diablo and Cyberpunk in the fire for a while, hoping those come to fruition, but like they're irons in the fire. And so, like sometimes it just works out. So it's been cool seeing a lot of people reach out and saying, "Hey, I'm checking out this artist's game because of your interview, this creator's game." And that's fun.
Honestly, it was a bummer that we didn't get a chance to like interview them together, and it had to wait so long. But I think the timing worked out so much better because your interview really did kind of show a spotlight on Immortals of Avium. It's like one of our favorite games this year,
Big
and
time.
because it was timed with the update, I think it gave everyone an opportunity, plus the sale, everyone an opportunity to actually pay attention to it post Starfield and Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate 3. And it's actually getting a little bit of a revival now that everyone's like, okay, the big titles that everyone knew was coming out are out of the way now.
Right.
Now we can kind of like give a little more attention to other titles that came out this year that weren't as marketed like the other ones.
Exactly. And I'm really looking forward to well, let me rephrase. I'm hopeful to see news of like, hey, we did really well this holiday or something like that.
Me
That's
too.
something
I
I
hope
want
so.
to happen. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Logan, those are my two interviews that just came out recently. And of course, we're going to be recording a community episode with our patrons sometime in the next week or so for our Xbox wrap up,
Yeah.
which is effectively called the Double Down Show, but it's an Xbox wrap up. And of course, I want to shout out some of our patrons for this week. It is your turn to read. And I have bad news, Logan. If you missed the video version, I now just splash screen over when we read these names so you can see everyone's name there.
Yeah.
So we no longer need to lip sync. It's a sad, and we're retiring that as a process.
That's all right. People will remember it. Yeah, and that's we're adaptable. If something changes, we're gonna adapt. We're not just gonna be like, nope. We're still gonna commit to eating double downs all the time.
Oh, I am. When the double down comes back, I owe this community a double down feast. I do.
Yeah, you do.
And I will respect it. I'm just waiting for it to return.
Diablo expansion. That's when we're looking.
I'll do it. All right, my friend. It is your turn to read our tier 2 and 3 shout outs. Hit it.
Tier 2 and 3 shout outs this week go to Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Nicholas Downey, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Xmox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenit, Rick Gaffney, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all so much for your love and support. Remember, if you guys want to love and support us, the best way you can do it is to head over to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. Otherwise, just circulate the content, tell a friend, share a link in your discords with your buddies. let them know like, hey, this is something I thought was really cool this week, or this is a show that I really love, and help kind of grow the player base, because I think the more people we get into the community, the better the overall discussions have, because you got more ideas coming into the conversation.
There we go. I was muted. Go figure. Yeah, man. Yeah, I
My
fully agree.
audio is not showing up on the thing. I just noticed.
You're popping. You're good. I got you.
Okay. Okay.
I got you. You're brilliant. You're beautiful.
Ugh.
Don't you worry. Definitely stress this new PC. It's your fault. That's what we're gonna say.
No, yeah. If
Don't
it
you hate
messes
that?
up, no, if it messes up, I'm gonna feel really bad. So if as long
Don't
as
feel
you see
bad.
that I'm coming up, it's not showing up on mine for some reason.
No, no, you're popping. You look a little fragmenty on my screen, but that's just internet stuff. It's
I
English.
think that's
So
just internet.
all good, my friend. Well, lots of stuff. Let me rephrase. Not a lot of stuff this week in terms of big news, but some interesting talking points for sure. I think first we have to talk about Killer Instinct. This
Yeah.
is a franchise that seems to be very important to the Xbox One fans, the fans of the Xbox One and the Xbox One era. I think long talked about and discussed is the difficulty with getting out first party titles in the Xbox One era. Truly the worst generation Xbox has ever had in terms of mindshare, to
Yeah.
say the least. And while there are definitely some gems, throughout the Xbox One's release, it definitely didn't compete anywhere near what it should have, or could have, I should say, for what it was. Now that said, one of the long acclaimed titles was indeed the Killer Instinct kind of rebirth that took place there. There was some pretty darn great experiences to be had for Killer Instinct, and this past week was the 10-year anniversary of Killer Instinct. And it brought with it a ton of really surprising news, I think, for a lot of people. The definitive edition, which is the edition that exists now for Killer Instinct, it's there on Game Pass. If you've got that, it was given away as Games with Gold at one point. It is getting significant tweaks to a number of its fighters. A lot of them are being sped up. They've done a ton of balance stuff 10 years after the last patch, which is crazy. The game is being changed and transitioned to the anniversary update, ditching the app version of it that it once was, and now kind of rekindling it to a much more streamlined, proper delivery of the game. All the
Yeah.
characters will be included in the anniversary update. If you have the Game Pass edition, you have the anniversary update once it goes live. They're reducing the price to a $30 uh, price point. And in short, Logan, this is a pretty surprising but really cool thing. And it reminds me of when, like, this is not meant to be a joke, but like when PlayStation remastered The Last of Us to set it up for the next spotlight that the show would give it. It feels like this is a setup for the next spotlight that Killer Instinct's next game or something else might bring it. It's kind of bringing it to be a more approachable, easier way to access the legacy title. Something that Xbox does well, I think. Gears of War Ultimate Edition, the Master Chief Collection, they want their legacy titles to be easy to get to, and it feels like that's what this is.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that I hope so. I really do, because I think Killer Instinct is one of those games ever since the Super Nintendo, man. It was just one of those fighters that stood out compared to like what I had seen growing up. Like we had Street Fighter, and Street Fighter was cool, but Killer Instinct brought with it just a level of gore and macabre kind of like feel
Yeah.
that was just so unique. Like everyone was doing humans versus humans, and Mortal Kombat gave us a couple little monsters and stuff, but Killer Instinct was really the one that came out and was just like, nah, we're reimagining like what fighters are. And that was so unique and so cool. Like I just really love the character designs that they had in there. I think Spinal is still one of my favorites to this day. Like there's a commemoration to Spinal in Sea of Thieves with the
Yeah.
figurehead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a fitting character for Sea of Thieves, given the nature of the game itself. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so cool to have like one of my favorite Killer Instinct characters represented in one of my favorite games now. And just seeing the revival of this it's hopeful, right? Like this is the year of fighters.
It is
Like
the year of fighters.
Tekken, I think the outlier because it got pushed out. Uh, but like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, like what else do you need, man? Like these are the one, like Clay Fighters or Primal Rage are the only two that I can really think of. I'm like, all right, we're really, Soul Calibur are the ones we're really like, all right, let's dip
Yeah.
into the well now.
It is neat to see like how much people were interested in this because they did a developer live stream that was very technical. All right, we've sped up this combo attack by 20%. Thunderhawk, his attacks are going
Yeah,
to be this big. Like they were very technical, but people
it's
were in
really
on it.
important.
People were in on it, and it
Yeah.
really I dig the new color scheme of all things. To me, like think about Sea of Thieves anniversary update, the first one. It re-spotlighted the game thanks to new cover art, a lot of tweaks in game.
Oh yeah.
And the
Huge update.
Yeah, and the Killer Instinct, even the graphic that just says Killer Instinct, it's all in gold, an homage to Killer Instinct Gold. But it's now going to be able to be splashed on screen when we do Game Pass and whatnot. And that's really neat. Like that's a really
Yeah.
neat thing. I think they're really opening themselves up to getting to spotlight a game, and I hope they do. Not this exact thing, 'cause it's not a fighter, but I hope they do this with a couple of the other Xbox One era titles that deserve it, right? There are a few
Mm.
Xbox One titles. I know people point to Rise. I think Rise is a bad game, by the way. Bring it, Xbox fans. Rise is a bad
Oh.
game. Deal with it.
Mm.
But like Recore and a few of the others that kind of got a struggling community through,
Yeah.
why not give them a glow up or something? But this is more of a first party IP, second party studio situation.
Yeah.
But I think it's leading to a new Killer Instinct somewhere in the next year.
It's surprising to me that Xbox hasn't done what Nintendo do, because Nintendo went and I know people don't get triggered on me saying Nintendo, please. I know it's Nintendo. But they went back to the well like they usually do, but in a way that serviced the Wii U, which
Nintendo
was
only goes to the well.
no, that's not
They don't
true.
make
Get out
new.
of
They
here.
go to the well.
I hate you. Shut up.
They
No,
only go to the well.
it's Breath of the Wild, man. Come on, it redefined what open world narratives could be. So anyway, getting back to what I was thinking is like Nintendo went back to the well with the Switch, and the whole Wii U library has basically come back to life with some really fantastic games that did not get the light of day because the Wii U console itself just sold horribly.
Yeah.
And
That's
this is
true.
a good opportunity for Xbox to do that. And because of backwards compatibility, it feels less necessary compared to like, remastering it and putting an upgrade path to $10 so that folks could get a better version of it. If that was a thing in the industry. And I think that they really could do something like the 10-year anniversary of a lot of their Xbox One games and bring those out as like updated Xbox Series versions, give them a little bit of love, give them a little bit of polish, check and see if there's any bugs that need to get worked out, and then re-release those to an audience that probably did not pick it up because at that time the Xbox One just did not sell as well as the competitors did. Well, it was well as Sony did, I guess.
Not even close. Like not even
So
close.
I think it was interesting to see like the kudos that people were giving to the Xbox One, given that this weekend or this week was or maybe it was last week. I think it was the 13th that the Xbox One came out. But effectively, it's the 10-year anniversary of the Xbox One, and seeing people talk about the kind of like vision that was the Xbox One is like that all-in-one media kind of system, and how that is effectively like where we're at now. But the difference is that media comes through the forms of apps and streaming, as
Right.
opposed to being like your cable company, like hooking into your Xbox. And it was just nice to see that, Killer Instinct is not a dead franchise. It's still a beloved franchise compared to what most people would consider. It's just one of those ones that most people probably don't go to first when it comes to like thinking of fighters because of like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat being
The
institutions.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are the game. Like without a doubt, they are the game to like look at, see, do,
Yeah.
handle. Yeah, no doubt about that. I I One of the things that's been neat over this year is watching kind of the discussion around the fighting game community. Mortal Kombat 1 came out, which brought spotlight to Mortal Kombat 11. And like for me, as the guy who enjoys IP spotlights, seeing all the IP in Mortal Kombat 11 has me going back and checking that out. There's Rambo and Terminator, Spawn, Joker,
Yeah.
a lot of cool stuff there. And that's fun for me to kind of watch. And then you see Street Fighter hasn't done that, but they did do costumes of Ninja Turtles. And then you see in Killer Instinct, which this version that everybody can pick up has got Battletoads, an homage to Rare,
Yeah.
which makes sense. It's got Rom, an homage to Gears of War. The Arbiter is in there, Halo. I love that. And I think that's why I and many people consistently call on Xbox to kind of create some sort of crossover fighter, platformer, racer, something, make use of these IP because it's fun to see them exist in an environment together. You look at Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl and Smash Brothers and Mario
Yeah.
Kart. There is a way to kind of get these characters to showcase, and it helps spotlight eras of Xbox because as people celebrate the Xbox One, they think about Killer Instinct and so many other titles that kind of define the generation. Failed or not, it's fun to go back. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's fun to go back sometimes.
Yeah. And Xbox is poised to do that so perfectly too with a lot of their backwards compatibility stuff. I know I already mentioned it, but I love touting that for all the folks that are just like, I don't know what to play. Like, man, there's a lot in that backwards compatibility a list of games that are not just on Game Pass that
Mm-hmm.
you could really go like dig into if you wanted to.
It kind of bums me out though, because I think sometimes Xbox uses the backward compatibility to get out of remastering stuff. Now, caveat, that's awesome on your wallet.
Yes.
Counterpoint, sometimes you want a little more effort put into certain things. We've seen some really great collections from Digital Eclipse and something with that Last of Us is doing with that $10 upgrade is bringing developer commentary. I would love new achievement lists from time to time. Like there are things I think that could be done. It's dope that we didn't have to buy anything to play the best version of Red Dead Redemption, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we were all disappointed to not see that exist in the Red Dead 2 engine. But you know, it it would have been cool if there was a new achievement list or developer comment, something. There's something, and there's a fine line to walk. It's case by case, and it's not going to be a universal answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question for you that you don't have to, spend too much time on, but so often we're asked the question or the question comes up, if you could give one IP to a studio uh that isn't the original studio, who would you give it to? Do you feel like Iron Galaxy is poised to take on the Killer Instinct franchise from here on out, or do you think that that needs to be kind of at home with Rare, given the trouble that we've seen with Sea of Thieves and their development, and also the lack of information with Everwild and what that potential project could become? Is Rare too full to be able to handle Killer Instinct at this point? Should they pass it on to Iron Galaxy the way they did Battletoads with Is it Delilah Studios that picked it
Delilah,
up? Delilah
Delilah. Mhm.
Studios that picked it up to kind of create a new Battletoads.
So, absolutely, Rare is too busy. For I will never jump down Rare's throat because what they've done with Sea of Thieves is incredible, and I think they brought the best new IP to market in Sea of Thieves. Like that is just there's nothing like it out there. It has done incredible wonders. It truly kept the Xbox portfolio afloat and brought people into an ecosystem that never would have been.
Afloat.
Thank you. Sea of Thieves is special. And so
Yeah.
Rare deserves all the credit in the world for that. But they have struggled with delivery of content since its inception, trying to figure out the right cadence between tall tales, between mysteries, between PvE, PvP content. They have struggled here and there, and I think they could use more attention and resources focused on servicing that community. And that's a very big asterisk next to it because I think they've done an incredible job. Everwild is not doing what it needs to do, or showing up, I think, where we expect it to show up at this point in time. And why not let Iron Galaxy do its thing with Killer Instinct? Why not build a relationship with a third party studio, effectively making them second party in this case? Why not do that kind of thing? They've
Yeah.
just done an incredible job. Microsoft has, in finalizing the Activision acquisition and bringing a huge amount of talent and IP under their umbrella, which is making money hand over fist already, thanks to Diablo and Call of Duty. But maybe it's time now to focus on some of those smaller relationships, not a publisher, not a Bethesda, not an Activision, not even an Obsidian size quality, but an Iron Galaxy. Maybe
Yeah.
bring them into the fold, or allow their IP to be worked on, because Xbox now has a number of IP and not enough studio to make them all. Why not? Why not?
That tends.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished.
No, no, please.
I was going to say that tends to be the strategy that we see with PlayStation, where they'll bring on, like a Blue Point or a Housemark or something, and they'll give them opportunities to produce something, and if it goes well, then that relationship grows, as opposed to just a blank check written for a publisher or a studio to kind of like join the fold with what they've got. And I think there's pros and cons to it. Like, you're buying a studio and you're giving them the financial support to continue doing what they want to do, as opposed to telling a studio like, hey, if you work on this is something that we could potentially use, but if it doesn't, then you're out of the, you're not in the house, you're not in the family kind of thing.
Right.
But I'm hoping, with your hope, that Iron Galaxy is given an opportunity to financially be supported beyond just what Killer Instinct does, because it feels like there's a reverence and a respect being put towards this anniversary edition that should be something that is rewarded, both with, like, trust and care from Microsoft, but also like monetarily. Let them be able to make the next thing and not have to worry about where the money's coming from.
Worth mentioning, I think, that Iron Galaxy, in addition to Killer Instinct, they've had some successes. Dive Kick was a really fun indie title on Vita and PlayStation, to some titles like Extinction. But they also helped co-develop the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. They worked on Skyrim. They did the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. They worked on 7 Days to Die. They worked on Spyro Reignited. So, like, there are connections there. They also worked on support for Fallout 76, for the Diablo 3 Eternal collection, for Overwatch.
Yeah.
So there are some really neat ties they have to Microsoft, to PlayStation. They're a well-connected studio, which means they are clearly talented. And
Yeah.
so it would be neat, I think, to see that relationship continue to strengthen, whether by acquisition or not. Giving them Killer Instinct, keeping that an Xbox thing, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, I do too.
So, take that for what it will. There was an interesting story that came out this past week, Logan, about Xbox sales in Europe that I found surprising and kind of just wild. In short, thanks to gamesindustry.biz, we saw that European sales of the Xbox are down 52% year over year. And that is a staggeringly bad number. And it's like, good Lord. You look like you want to take this before go ahead.
No, yeah, it's wild to me to think about how good this year has been for Xbox first party wise.
Yeah.
And compared to last year, and like think like, oh yeah, sales are down 50%. It's like, of all the years, really?
Yeah.
The 50% dip is from 2022. Like, what were 22 sales compared to 2021 then?
So I have to wonder kind of like the reasoning for this, because PlayStation 5 was up 143% from last year. And to me, this is PlayStation 5's worst year in terms of single party releases or first party releases, right? Like, Spider-Man 2 is one of my games of the year. Don't misunderstand. But like, they've had some better years, right?
Yeah.
And so that surprised me. Of course, the Switch continues to be pretty darn great. It had a 20% drop in sales, and still Switch is great. And what does that mean for Switch, right? But Xbox has had an incredible year. You had Hi-Fi Rush, Age of Empires. You saw Minecraft Legends, which is of course multi-plat. They corrected the PlayStation exclusive Ghostwire. They brought out Redfall, which is the only Black Eye on the year. They had incredible day one releases into Game Pass, and then they had Starfield and Forza. It's like, why would you have a bad year? And the only thing I can think of is that it's related to the lack of marketing they likely did in Europe as a result of the Activision Blizzard thing, because that's where they had
Yeah.
various troubles. Maybe. Or it just speaks to the market. PlayStation's always been strong there. Nintendo's always been strong. Maybe it'll take more than a Starfield, more than a Forza, more than,
Yeah.
maybe.
It's really weird because I think that there's and I have no proof of this. This is just speculation on my part. So if you come at me with articles, I'll learn, but I'm not here to tell you what's right and what's wrong. But my gut instinct is, having spoken with a lot of folks from Europe and the UK about their growing up, anecdotally, it feels like a lot of them grew up with either a PlayStation or a PC. And those markets are very segmented with their player bases and their like consumption. Like, most PC players gravitate towards Steam. That is like the place to be. That is the place to buy games when it comes to PC consoles or PC gaming. Consoles, on the other hand, tend to be PlayStation. And I think a lot of that has to do with just it being out longer, but also the type of games that have been on there. Like, PlayStation has supported sports games really, really well over the years. FIFA is consistently one of the top selling games for Europe and UK, and there's always marketing deals there that I think that PlayStation just has a better handle on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just one of those things. Like, if you're a gamer in Europe, chances are you're probably buying a console. If you're not buying a console, then you're buying a PC, and you're probably going to the Steam marketplace. And chances are, it's just, there's not, like you said, big enough hits on the Xbox that are exclusive that can really draw in the growth of the hardware sales there. I think Sea of Thieves, and I can tell you from my perspective, analytics wise, Sea of Thieves does really, really well for the PC and Xbox market
Mm-hmm.
in like Norway, Sweden, some of the northern countries in Europe, because of the sea based heritage that is there. Like, the culture there is ingrained in, like, Vikings and commerce and trade, Danish trading companies, things like that. So you see a lot of folks gravitate towards that game because of their heritage and the things that they can do there. But with, like, Europe, it just feels like they only go for what they're used to, what they've had for years and generations and stuff at this point. And there just hasn't been that big enough title. And it does kind of make me wonder, like, will Phil ever give us, like Cog says, Lord Cognito from Iron Lord's
Iron Lords.
podcast,
Yeah.
the one? Like, will we ever get that one game that will compete against the same genre as a God of War, a Horizon Zero Dawn, an Uncharted, Last of Us? Will it be that over the shoulder third person action narrative game that is 30-hour campaign and goes up for Game of the Awards? Like, will we get that game?
It's got to be Hellblade, man.
You think Hellblade is going to be big enough?
I think it will be. I think Hellblade is special.
I think it's special. I don't think it's big enough to be able to compete against a God of War.
I think people are. This is so weird to say, because God of War 2018 is, I think, the best game ever made. But I think Ragnarok disappointed. At least in terms of mind share, right? But like, it was set up to disappoint, to be very clear. Like, how do you perform that well again, right? So yeah, I think people are ready for something different, and I think Hellblade has the best chance of it in the Xbox pantheon right now. I mean, no other game is an over-the-shoulder third-person action adventure that is meant to look cinematic, that is meant to look so great. Because, like, Avowed's new direction clearly is a different direction than we were expecting it to be.
Yeah. Artistically wise, at least.
Very much
Should
so.
still be the same game.
Yeah, but even then, like, it's an Obsidian joint. Obsidian and Santa Monica don't make the same style games. So, I think there's something to be said for that. Yeah, Hellblade, I think, is the one poised to be. Just as PlayStation doesn't have a Sea of Thieves, right? We've yet to get a God of War, and I think that's the bigger reality of it. And it's a matter of, like, find a way to click. You got to find a way to click.
I think that would be something that would start to convince people in other like non-American based companies, or at least I'm trying to say that because Microsoft is an American based company, we tend to trust Microsoft as a company more often. Whereas I think Google has more sway over worldwide usage just due to the nature of that. But I think that Xbox suffers from that in some ways. Like there's a little bit of an Xbox tax there.
An Xbox tax, you say?
Yeah.
Skipping ahead in the notes.
But I think that if we do get that one game, that will kind of like show people like, hey, the studios that make the games that you want to play that you find on like PlayStation are going to be something that is feasible on Xbox as well too. I think Starfield was the first real kind of like mark on the ledger, like, hey, this is the first one that it's going to be like that.
I think you're right. Starfield is the first, and I still don't think Starfield launched as well as it should have. But I also love it. Like, it's one of my games of the year, personally. Yeah. It's on my short list. But I totally get why it's not getting some of the accolades, because it is a flawed experience to start. It needs some serious optimization.
It is always funny when they're like, it may take you 18 to 20 hours to get into the groove of it. It's like, man.
Yeah. You hear that about Final Fantasy, about Skyrim, about Starfield, about some of these bigger RPGs. Oh, yeah, it gets good after 10, or like you need 10 hours to learn it. Now, that is true. You do need 10 hours to learn some games, but it needs to be fun in that 10 hours, I think.
Yeah.
You gotta be having fun.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think the opening to Cyberpunk before the actual like credit scroll, no, not a credit scroll, but the opening title scene, that like kind of preamble before that is so well like manicured that that's a good 10-hour like learning curve on how to play the game. And I think a lot of companies, like if you're going to be making a huge open world RPG like a Starfield and stuff, please like nail that first digestible 10 hours to teach people how to play the game, and let them explore after that. Because that really helped me when I was doing that. But Starfield was tough because you're given so much choice at the start that I'm like, I wish it was a little more curated at the beginning here, because I'm still not sure how these systems work. But we're starting to tangent off into like game design and stuff, as opposed to why Xbox sales are so bad in Europe given the year.
Oh man, but I have such a good thing I want to say about this.
Oh, jump in then, please.
Well, I just want to say it's also difficult without playing Starfield twice, 3 times, which it's meant to be done.
Yeah. Funny enough.
For those opening choices didn't seem to matter to me at all. It like the class, for lack of a better term, or the occupation, the history didn't seem to matter to my character in the slightest. Maybe it did and I didn't notice it because I'm not tuned for some of those things. But I didn't feel like it mattered. And so like if you're gonna have a 10-hour or a big opening or whatnot, like, does it matter? Did it? And I don't think it mattered as much in Cyberpunk in the beginning. But I think some patches have kind of alleviated that. But your choices need to matter if you're going to put so much emphasis on making them in those opening hours. That's my point. Yeah. That was my point. But yeah,
no, that's a good point
down
too.
52% in Europe. I will say also that I find that 52% alarming, Logan. But I do not, I guess, panic given the revenues that are coming in, right? Like, first of all, like, it's not my company. I don't need to panic there. I covered it. I don't benefit from it. But Microsoft did complete a $70 billion acquisition. and they are making money hand over fist from Call of Duty right now, which is engagement is up across all platforms, like staggering amounts, despite some of the scores it got. It's doing extremely well. Diablo is back and doing extremely well. And
Yeah.
these are being published multi-platform in all of these areas. Plus Game Pass for PC is a thing. Plus mobile is a thing. Like Xbox is doing well in these markets. The system is not selling, but the games are selling. You know?
Yeah, which makes me wonder if that's just people have access to it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird, man. I really don't know why, and I can't imagine that the general populace is tied in, is so like cued into what's going on,
Right.
that they're like, oh well, PlayStation just announced their refresh, so we might be holding off on buying one because there might be a refresh coming soon for Xbox, kind of thing. Like I can't imagine that that's what's going on.
I don't think it is. I
So
don't think that's what's
I'm
happening.
confused.
It's odd, but I think it could come. I think the biggest picture is the biggest game is Starfield. It's available on PC, and they've not marketed in Europe because of a lot of the acquisition deals, and that's kind of what's going on. I think that's truly what it is. I really think that's what it is, and that's okay. I'm not
Yeah,
bothered by that.
yeah, I
So
can live with it.
yeah,
As long as the games are doing well, content is king. Like that's
yes,
all that matters.
yes. Logan, I have completed structure on my spawn statue, which has been distracting you for 40 minutes. You want to see it?
I do. I know
Yeah,
you've been very proud of this.
yeah.
Oh,
Look at
that's a
that.
cool looking one too.
Yeah, he looks so cool. He looks so cool.
Mm,
It hurt. My hands hurt.
yeah, that's the trouble with some stat, man. Like the work you got to put in to get the little parts in. Like
Yeah,
we're gamers, man. The buttons are easy to press. We're not used to this.
but it looks good next to the Spider-Man and Venom statue. Oddly enough, Todd McFarlane did Venom, but also next to my gold controller, which you got me for my birthday, which was last week.
Oh,
Look at that. Look at that.
so cool.
It's so cool. It's so good. It's so good. I've got some of these like generic controllers, like a gray one and a blue one, that I
Yeah.
think I'm going to give to some of my students that need one for the
Oh,
holidays.
neat.
Because I've got so many controllers now.
Yeah.
So
I hold on to them because you never know when your buddy's going to be like, hey, can you install Halo Master Chief Collection and boot up 2 consoles with 4 controllers each so we can get that 16 versus 16 achievement?
I've never once had anyone say anything like that.
Oh boy. Well, I have got a friend to introduce to you
Uh-oh.
because that way he can ask you.
Oh goodness. Let's see. Let's move on
It's
and say,
taxing. I'll say that.
all right, here we go. The Xbox tax. The Xbox tax. Anybody that is outside. Oh no, I'm sorry. I want to answer Fickle Gamer's question on the sales down question. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
I apologize. I should have transitioned that better.
How
Uh,
dare.
at the Fickle Gamer 1 writes in on Twitter and says, "Curious what your thoughts are on the whole Xbox can't sell consoles narrative that's going on right now. Phil has publicly stated that they can't out console Nintendo and PlayStation, but are these numbers cause for concern? If Microsoft stopped making Xbox consoles, it would be terrible." I think in some regions of the world, there is no way Xbox can compete, but as long as their content is selling there, there's no reason to be concerned. I think that alludes to what we talked about, but I think that's okay in those areas as long as the games are selling well. That's what I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, and I do think it would be really bad if Xbox stopped making consoles. I think having that dedicated hardware is really nice. I know that they don't make a whole lot on them. Some of the best deals are on Black Friday for the Xbox or for the Series S. Like I think I saw sub 200 this year, which is the best that I think I've seen with certain deals off and stuff like that, like codes and promotions. But if they stop making hardware, it would be a real bummer because I've had each one over the decades, and I like having a dedicated hardware piece that is just built for consoles
Mm-hmm.
and allow me to use that for a lot of the content that I like to consume. And honestly, like I think it's concerning, but at the same time, as long as service and game sales are up, that's the bread and butter. having consoles or having access to consoles isn't necessarily a make it or break it deal for Xbox. And I think that's kind of speaking to what Phil said is that they're not dependent the way Sony is on the hardware. They can put their content anywhere.
Yep. Simple as that. There you go. All right, Logan, the Xbox tax.
Yeah.
Let's see. This has been a topic that has been making a lot of the social rounds. If you are not on social media, you likely have no idea what the Xbox tax is, and you are better for it, let me tell you. But it's the prevailing idea that media is biased against Xbox, giving the Xbox games lower scores, spotlighting them less, using wording in articles that is inflammatory or at the very least might pump up PlayStation, celebrate what's good about a game versus if it's an Xbox game, might say, hey, what it doesn't have. There are a lot of people that are making this broad claim that it exists. There are others refuting it, and they're kind of getting into a console war. There are a few that are like investigating, is this happening? I have my own thoughts on what the Xbox tax actually is versus what it may not be. I'm sure you have your own thoughts as well, Logan, but feel free to kind of bring some of this to the limelight.
So the discussion effectively is that media bias is a real thing, and a lot of this comes because of like the Game Awards. People are talking about how games like Starfield are not in the running for Game of the Year, given its design and stuff. This is the first like new IP from Starfield or from Bethesda that they've been able to put out, and it's not even in Game of the Year territory over games like Resident Evil Remake, which is a remake discussion to be had at some point for folks if they want to discuss that. Should it be its own category, or Super Mario Wonder, which feels like just another iteration of a 2D Mario, a Super Mario 3D World kind of thing. And the articles that we typically see or that people feel like they see is a lack of criticism on Sony for like the PS Portal or the director's cut tax, or
which was given, the PS Portal was like given an 8 by, I think it was IGN, and then someone was saying, okay, the Steam Deck got a 6. Oh, they love PlayStation. And like, true or not, that's the kind of narrative that this is playing out to. Is that correct? Like comparing score to score and saying that this is that.
Yeah. And a lot of folks saying like, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 this year got the worst reviews shortly after the acquisition of Xbox. And whether you decide to buy into the Xbox tax idea, there has been some discussion, and I think some salient points that there is some bias in the media towards PlayStation. And I wanted to bring it up because I think it's interesting. I don't think it's a cognitive, I don't think it's an acted upon like mission statement from media to say like, we will not talk bad about Sony, but we will talk bad about Xbox.
I also heard comparisons of like Call of Duty and Battlefield, like when Battlefield launched, getting great or spotlighting things that it's got that are great versus Call of Duty saying, hey, this doesn't have this, it's bad. Is that, in short, is that kind of what you're seeing or what you're thinking?
Yeah. And it's weird because I don't know if you feel this is the case, but it does feel weird that some of the criticisms that I have of Sony don't seem like it doesn't seem like they're pressed upon when it comes to like the media who's writing about stuff. Like it doesn't feel like they're focusing on that as much as some of the negativity or some of the punishment that Xbox tends to get. Like they don't get nearly as much coverage. And I wanted to bring it up because I think that there's a cause and effect situation here with like commerce and capitalism. Like Sony sells better than Xbox right now. And because of that, more people are in that ecosystem, which means that Google Trends are going to sway more towards Sony, which means that articles written about Sony are going to cause more traffic. which
Mm-hmm.
is going to cause more revenue for those outlets, which is going to incentivize them to push more content to that area because it gets more traffic. And it's this
Yes.
kind of it's this double-edged sword. Like if you write about Xbox, you're not going to be able to make as much money off of the traffic of the ads from those articles because not as many people are going to be searching for that unless it's like a hate article
Mm-hmm.
or like an angry article. Like if it bleeds, it leads is
Mm-hmm.
what I've heard around, and it's true.
That is exactly what I think tends to happen is that consciously or unconsciously, websites see traffic and they write about things that bring them traffic because that's what pays bills, brings attention, helps them grow. Um, and so, consciously or unconsciously, sites will do that. I do not think there is a conspiratorial, oh, this is an Xbox thing, let's diss it. I don't think that happens. I
Yeah,
don't think that's a thing. I think uh, that is some tinfoil hat, the birds aren't real, government spying on us type thing. It's like no, I think it's more just like there is attention brought to things that people are willing to click on, and that is what happens. Um, I do think over time there's likely been some language adjustments on things that people we know about language that when you hear it, see it, and read it, then you start to kind of fall into line with it. That is how language evolves. And seeing certain words associated with a PlayStation, a Nintendo, a Steam, an Xbox, an Epic, an Amazon, you start to lean towards certain verbiage. That tends to happen.
yeah.
Consciously and unconsciously, it tends to happen. So I think that's more what's going on. I know there are a lot of people getting up in arms on in social spaces. I think Destin Legary at IGN, who absolutely profits on his Xbox fandom and dissing. Like he profits on his own channel, and he will say, I've seen him say things that I think are quite inflammatory at times to get an audience riled up so that he can make a video and discuss it, which is something that every YouTuber does.
Yeah.
His unique position with IGN, I think, brings maybe a little like awkward questionability to it, but it's not a diss. Like it is what it is. If you're giving somebody oxygen, like Destin or anybody else, and clicking on it, then you are feeding flames to that particular fire, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's important that I think it's important to state that not everyone, like a lot of people do genuinely want to have these conversations, and that they do sometimes go into that kind of inflammatory thing as our biases will tend to push us. You and I will say inflammatory statements like Call of Duty is better than Battlefield 2042, which is objectionably true.
It is true.
And
It is true. I'm sorry, Clint. You need to know.
that may rile up the community. Saying like Rise is not a good game. But when it comes to like profiting off of something like that, that is the dangerous territory, is when you are actively looking for those things to try and drive engagement through hot takes. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I think you should really be cautious of, because I would hate to have a play or have a situation where nobody wants to bring up these kind of topics because they're going to be labeled as clickbait or engagement drivers,
Mm-hmm.
and that conversation can't be talked about. That this may or may not be a thing, and
Right.
I don't think it's a thing personally. I think it's just a reaction to the market. Like this is, PlayStation is the best selling console.
Mm-hmm. By far.
That, yeah, that is a fact. And because of that, you're just going to have a larger gamer base that is searching for stuff. I do think that there is a good opportunity for media to try and drive more distinction between the content that they make, and say, if you're going to be talking about PlayStation predominantly, let players know we are predominantly a PlayStation driven content creator,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're an IGN or not. And if that's the case, if you're looking to be more holistic, I think you need to look where your weaknesses are and build those up as opposed to cutting them down.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
We,
don't start removing people or not allowing articles about Xbox for games that you don't cover because you don't have time or the people to be able to focus on it because that's not their forte. Find those people and hire them.
there's a lot of freelance opportunities, and I know a lot of people would be willing to do it. And I know a lot of Xbox fans will go to places like Xbox Era, Pure Xbox, Complete Xbox. These are places that I go when I need Xbox specific content. And that's because I don't find some of the articles that I need for people interested in Xbox. But I do think it's a genuine correlation that's not always causation, in that if 54% of the market is PlayStation, and or 34%. I forget what the numbers are from ABK, but it was very clear that Xbox is like 16, 20% of the overall
Mhm.
console market or something like that, right? You would see 16 to 20% of the articles be Xbox skewed, you know? And that's not a
Yeah.
one to one. There are flaws in that argument too. And I'm not dying on any hill here, because I think that it's a subconscious thing that isn't intentionally vindictive. And I don't think, like, I saw some people saying that, like, well, there's a bias towards, like, PlayStation review copies. How does, like, some of y'all talk like, like, how do you know that? Like, what are you talking? Are you working at IGN? Like,
Yeah.
those review codes don't always come from the developer or the publisher. Sometimes they come from PlayStation or from Xbox. Sometimes it's hangups at Xbox that keep codes from getting out. That happens. That's a reality.
Yeah.
A lot of people are speaking like they know from firsthand experience when they do not. And so when it comes to this, I enjoy the tell me what it is. Here's a counterpoint. Here's a counterpoint, and it worthwhile. Somebody was saying, well, Digital Foundry doesn't spotlight Psychonauts 2. And then somebody else responded, here's the video where they do. I
Yeah.
appreciate that because it's evidence based and it's fact based, not circumstantial, not subjective based. And so, cool. And I don't think anyone's doing favors to anyone by saying, by screaming Xbox tax. I don't agree that Modern Warfare 3 is bad. I just don't. Right? Like, it should have been called, and it was meant to be called, by the way, if anybody doesn't know, it was meant to be called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022. 2023 rather. That's what it was supposed to be. Modern Warfare 2 2023. That's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
Espresso and several other content creators that were at Call of Duty Next and everything, they know that. But Activision saw that it was getting to be bought, and this is their last shot. But that doesn't mean the game that is out now is bad. I don't agree with
Yeah.
that. I am not hurt by that review. I don't need to die on a hill. I can dispute it for content, sure, but, like, no hill to die on there. No
Yeah.
tax happening.
Yeah, there was an interesting conversation that I saw recently in a Twitch chat that was the relevance of the Game Awards, and we've had this discussion multiple times. So to
Mhm.
keep it short, a lot of the overall discussion was: is Game Awards relevant? Should the industry be involved with the voting process given their bias? And it's like there's bias regardless of where you go.
Mhm.
So the fact that you're saying like industry being involved with the Game Awards is biased. That's all dice awards are. So like you could look at the dice awards and say like if you wanted absolute bias for games and still see who comes out on top, that is a perfect example of how you could approach it. But the overall thing is don't listen to just one outlet.
Mhm.
Don't believe that one outlet is the perfect way to deliver whether or not like a game is good or bad.
Mhm.
Like there are going to be things that are missed or things that are overlooked or biases involved given each person's like how many times do we see games come out and people are like, oh, this is a buggy mess, and other people are like, I didn't have any problems. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mhm. And surely, I have niche interests. So people jump in and join me on that. Our Discord's full of people that agree with me, people that disagree with me. Our content, Battlefield argument, or when we talk about games that we like and don't like. Some of us liked Redfall. I'm well aware it's not a 10 out of 10, surely not. But, like, who cares? If you find people that like it and you enjoy a game, or it's you. It's just you playing what you like. You're playing what you like. You
Yeah.
know, no amount of tax or whatnot. Like, that's a silly thing. And I think it's long been proven, Logan, that media bias does not impact sales. If it
No.
did,
Yeah.
if it did, we'd have a very different market. If it did, Modern Warfare 3 wouldn't have the engagement numbers it had.
It
If it did, we wouldn't see some of the lambasting of some games or celebrations of others. You know?
I think it can, and I think it does, to counterpoint you, because I do see like games that would have, like, the marketing is really good for Redfall. The reviews came out and panned it, and that definitely cost sales. But I think the opposite is true. Like, yes, it can kill sales, but it can also lift up sales as well too. And to quote someone that I was listening to the other day, there is a bit of a symbiotic relationship between people that are reviewing games and the sales that they make, and the studios that are giving those codes to reviewers,
Mhm.
and whether or not it does well. Like, there's definitely a relationship to be had on the marketing side of how that all works. Some people will throw marketing at a game to drown out the reviews for a game,
Mhm.
knowing that the game may be panned at launch.
Can I want to make. I'm trying to clarify something. You said there's a symbiotic relationship between the studios that give codes and the reviews they get. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like reviewers of the game impact the sales as well as the studios that do the marketing for them. And if a game does well, then the game will sell well, or if the game reviews well, then the game will sell well. And the reviewers will, they'll have articles and stuff that will drive traffic to their sites to actually like make revenue for the reviewers, but also the sales are going to go up, so it's going to benefit the studios as well. And the opposite is true. If a reviewer says it's a bad game, they may still make some money off of that review, but eventually it will die down because no one's going to buy the game, no one's going to be looking up articles about the game, and as such the game will do worse.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying because a studio gives codes, they get higher reviews.
Oh, no.
Okay,
That
all right.
no.
Now I'm clear, because what you're saying is if a game is well reviewed, the sales are going to have a longer tail because people can go back to that well
Yeah.
and click on the article, read the article to be more. I see what you're saying. I thought
Yep.
you were saying that a studio will get better reviews if they give more codes.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to give anyone the impression that I think reviewers are bought out.
Okay. All right. All
Some
right. All
might,
right.
but not anyone that I talk to.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, like the whole bought out idea, I think is very silly, because who can afford to go spend $70 billion on on a studio on a publisher like Activision? Who can afford to just buy OpenAI employees if they need them? Who can afford it? Microsoft. You know who can't? Sony and Nintendo. They don't have the war chest to go. If Microsoft wanted to buy reviews, they could, and they sure as shit aren't getting them. Like,
What's
it's just not
it,
a thing. That
and
aspect is not happening.
it's so funny because they have like people that they buy mock reviews of.
Yeah.
Like, they
They
hire
need different ones, by the
reviewers.
way. Hire
Yeah, they
different
do.
ones.
They really do. A little more critical. Yeah, they do hire people to do mock reviews of their games to get a better gauge of like what the community is going to say about it, or what reviewers are going to say about it before it actually goes out to actual reviewers. So that if it needs to get delayed and they need to work on certain things, that gets caught.
Mm-hmm. I hope that I have no idea how that mock reviews work. I don't know who they're hiring. I don't know if they're like going to Travis at IGN and saying, "Hey, will you sign NDAs and do this one?" And he's not the official. I don't know. I do not know how mock reviews are
It's
specifically worked on. It's probably ghostwriters, but like who
it's
it is
yeah,
they're hiring.
it's mostly independents
Mm-hmm.
and contractors
But you never
who
hear
do
about it.
them.
So that's so it's got to be high
No.
NDA stuff. What I will say is that I hope, given the amount of titles that are coming out that are under the umbrella, I hope that Xbox can afford now to say, "Hey, go fix this. We're not releasing it." PlayStation released what, 2 games this year? Spider-Man, and was it just Spider-Man? I thought they had a remaster in there.
Nope.
Just one. Okay. I think Xbox has now defeated the "we have no games." I think they have defeated the the amount of stuff. I hope that Avowed, that needs to be great. Avowed
I think
cannot be less than an 8. Like
Yeah.
no less than 8s out of Xbox from here on out. No less than 8s. Towerborn, Pentiment, these smaller titles, great, rock on. But if it's your AAA marketing thing,
We
not for a little bit. You can't afford less than an 8 for a bit.
what was that? South of Midnight?
Yeah.
That I think is going to be a 10.
Because it's like the Criterion style. Like some games get high reviews and don't sell because they're hoity-toity.
Because it looks like it is one of those like, this isn't your shooty bang bang game.
Like your highbrow type stuff. I don't know how to describe that. Yeah.
No,
okay.
I think it's for the same reason you think Senua is going to be, or Hellblade's going to be like a really, really good game. It's like there are certain games that you can look at and be like, that is going to be a 10 out of 10 candidate. And I think that those games are games that we have coming in the coming years for Xbox. Like I'm really excited. I can't remember the steampunk game that's coming out.
It's Clockwork Revolution.
Clockwork Revolution, I think looks beautiful. I think that has really good potential to be an amazing game as well too.
Yeah.
So I know that I think that we like the discussion that Xbox has no games. We can now drop that argument. We can focus now on game of the year contenders.
And to go back, like I think about Jesse Norris at Xbox era because I gave him a lot of crap for his Redfall review. I gave it a 9. To me, like that was just
he gave it a 9.
Absurd, right? Absurd. And Jesse does great work, but I thought that was absurd. I think the games that they need to talk to the most diehard fan and the most critical. So find Jesse, find the guy that gave Modern Warfare 4 a 4. Look at the types of people that fall into those categories. Talk to them as well, right? Figure out what your kind of like your farthest periphery reviews are. Talk to your centralists. Figure out if you can get an idea of the narrative. Maybe you get a better hold on kind of like what's happening. You know? I don't know.
So, okay. Kind of wrapping this up, Xbox tax, we both agree, not actually a conscious a thing that studios and companies are doing.
Yeah.
Definitely something that may be happening, but not something that is actively being like, tinfoil hat on.
Yeah. Agree. I don't know. Maybe we're wrong.
I would love to see the proof of that come out, where there was like an office memo that comes out through like a lawsuit, and they're like, if anyone starts writing positive about Xbox, you have a 90-day notice.
Yeah, sure.
That would be nuts.
That would be wild and unlikely.
I would love to see the episode of ILP where King David goes off on that. Because that would be a great episode.
I think those are fun, but I don't think they're healthy for the community. Overall, like extended things. Like King is a character, and I love him, right? Yeah. But I mean, like when you're logical, like when your non-character commentators start going down the route, and I don't have interest in that. I think it's unhealthy.
You don't want to drink the Kool-Aid?
No.
I love them over there. I think they do great work. I love the fanboy drive that they push, because it builds a community. As long as we can all agree, like all games are good.
It's fun when it's a bit. It is fun when it is a bit. That's what I think I'm trying to say. So like when I talk about some of these other creators, like it's not in mean. I'm worried that I'm not being understood. But like,
I don't think you're.
When it's a bit, it's fun. Like, but if you're sincerely like PlayStation sucks, like, dude, you haven't been paying attention. Like, you've not. If you're telling me Xbox has no games, you've not been paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways. And if the Keelhauled is your only barometer for success, you've not been paying attention. Like, there's a lot. I enjoy genuine analysis. That's why XEP exists. But I do not enjoy, like, I don't know, I don't enjoy inflammatory for the sake of inflammatory.
Yeah. And to be clear, to kind of echo, just to kind of move past it and whatnot, I don't think that King David or them are doing it outside the bit. I think the bit is their bread and butter. I think they do it really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's great content.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that they genuinely love all games.
Yes.
Like in all game consoles too.
Oh yes. Yes. Agreed. Logan, I'm looking forward to a number of things later on this year, like for our game of the year conversation and whatnot. But I still haven't played like Alan Wake 2. I need to be in the right headspace for that
Yeah,
one.
I know, right?
As I was looking forward to that so much, but then just it's a mindset. But I got back into Diablo. I got back into Call of Duty. I did every achievement in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, except for
Nice.
the multiplayer one. I did every achievement in Modern Warfare's 2 and 3, except for the multiplayer ones. Right now, like I did all of them, and I'm having a blast. I do that. Like we know that I get locked in on something, and I just stay with it.
Yeah.
But as I come out of my Modern Warfare campaign haze, I'm jumping back into the fighters, back into Diablo 4. I'm loving a necromancer build. It's fun. It's been cool, and like it's like all right, now to get back to this big list of shame, and I know people added to it over Black Friday. I think next week we'll have numbers to talk about, which will be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Game Awards, and then after Game Awards, like through December, I think we'll talk about our Game of the Years and stuff. And I'm looking
Avatar.
Oh, that's right, Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we might get review copies of that, we might not, but you got a free copy with your PC, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the CPU I bought.
He got a $60 game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a $70 game. Thank you, Ubisoft.
That's the Ubisoft tax.
Yeah, we're talking about taxes. How about that $10, $70 price increase that Sony was like, we're doing this, and everyone was like, okay, and everyone else.
Last of Us 2 remastered, $10 upgrade. That's how you treat your fans.
No, how you treat your fans is you just give them the content. You just say, hey, we got a free update, like Ghost of Tsushima did with their free multiplayer content.
But this has got like new modes and stuff in it. You're paying for the roguelite mode and you're getting commentary.
Ghost of Tsushima was a single player game. They added an entire multiplayer functionality to it for free. And they gave you the 4K 60 frames per second performance update before the director's cut. Iki Island was a whole new storyline that they created that was actual DLC and stuff. The multiplayer mode was just given. No one knew it was coming. Huh?
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like Ghost of Tsushima, that sucker punch, is in fact Jesus.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's see here. Let's do 2 listener questions and then get out of here. This first one comes from Jose Martinez over on Twitter. Shout out Jose, by the way, does like our cartoon avatars. I sent you 2 more that he did for you, buddy.
It looks so good too.
They do.
I don't know if I told you about that, but yeah, I actually really thought those look great. I love our little avatars.
Yeah, they're cool. Jose Martinez, he says, imagine you're Jeff Keighley and have the power to invite any 3 celebrities or industry folk to the Game Awards to present on stage, and let's assume they will automatically and graciously accept. Who are you inviting? I have my list. I'm going to let you think. Okay.
I want to hear your list because I already know who one of them is going to be. So I'm curious if I'm right about that, because I feel like I would, like, top of mind, I already know like one person I want to bring.
All right. So my list of 3 people that would absolutely need to be at the Game Awards. The first is Barack Obama. I want Barack Obama on that gaming stage, living his best life. I think that'd be dope. And it'd be cool. He's out there, he's talking games, he's laughing. I like when I see him at like Beyonce concerts, and it would get so much attention. If Barry's there to present best narrative in an action adventure game. I think that would be so cool. And if he graciously accepts, I think you get a lot of attention on the Game Awards, and that's what Jeff Keighley tries to do, is get attention. It's not a diss, by the way. I think Sean Layden absolutely should be there. I think he is a special person to a lot of developers. And there's no console fanboyism with that. Sean Layden is special to and he's part of an iconic era of PlayStation, the best era of PlayStation, which is the PS4 era. And I think Peter Moore would be cool there, kind of stepping in from outside the limelight. I'd like to see those 3 there. Who do you have?
Okay. All right. All right. So you want to know my three?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So number one, Henry Cavill.
Oh God. Oh, you stirred me a little bit. That's my boy. I
Henry
love Henry
Cavill
Cavill.
coming
Oh
to the
my.
Game Awards to announce a game
Only if he's talking Superman.
would be, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. The dude has been ingrained in freaking games since he's been like able to walk, I think. But I
You know
mean, like
that's like
yeah.
Logan. There are two celebrities that I would cry if I met.
Yeah.
I'm 38 years old. Everybody, I would cry if I
That's why I
met
don't,
Henry Cavill, and I would
yeah.
cry if I met Ben Affleck. Like
That's
those
why I don't
two.
get it. Like, why
That's
wouldn't you?
because I was thinking industry impact, not
No, he
Lohr
said
impact.
celebrities, my dude.
But like, who would be good for the? Oh my gosh, Henry Cavill.
Yeah, we're talking celebrities. We're talking Robert De Niro. We're talking, like I'm talking like, dude, it would
Cavill's a great choice.
Henry
He's
Cavill would be my first choice.
yeah. I think it
Uh,
moved.
Second choice would I'm kind of iffy on this, but I honestly would love to see Jamie Lee Curtis. Because I know she's a big gamer. I know that she's been involved with is it Fallout, I think?
I don't know.
I can't remember. I think it's Fallout. Nope, that's gonna bug me. I can't think of what it is. And I just blanked on my third one because now I'm questioning the Fallout thing.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. You got
Jamie Lee Curtis and Henry Cavill are like the two that I would most
both
definitely
gamers
want.
and celebrities. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, and the other one that I would like to see that would be interesting is I would like to see Jack Black make an appearance, but on the same way, like it would either
Boy,
be
that fell
between
flat. You had two great ones. I'm like, Jack Black would be there.
no, so
He's
it would
cool,
be
but like he'd be there. He'd be there anyway.
But I mean, he is a gamer. Like he is a comedian. He is a musician. He was in the Super Mario Brothers movie. This year would be a great opportunity for him to come back and showcase his Bowser role and do like a onstage performance of Peaches. I would not be surprised if that happens this year. But it's either between Jack Black or Keanu Reeves, especially with the Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC this year. I think it would be great for him to reprise his "You're Beautiful" on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a toss up. It's either Jack Black or Keanu Reeves would be the two. But yeah,
Okay.
Henry Cavill, Jamie Lee Curtis, and then either Jack Black or Keanu Reeves. And I'm kind of leaning towards Keanu Reeves just because I love him, but also I really love Jack Black as well too. But those are my three celebrities.
Okay. I like it. The Cavill one gets me personally. Like I get emotion. Like it's so dumb. Like why Superman? But yeah, it just does. I'm really excited for Superman Legacy. Good answer. Okay, let's just move on. But if he's no, we're not moving on. If he's there, he better be talking about a Superman game, whether he's in it or not. Like, God, I'm mad.
No, him and
so
Dave Cockle are getting up on stage together, and it's going to be the two Geralts.
That's cool. It's not Superman, but it's cool.
God. Oh my God.
It's fine, I guess.
Witcher is still like it was a former game of the year.
Yeah, but it's not Superman.
Well, of course it's not Superman. It's
just saying, like, I deserve Superman. Like, I think I've had a good year, right? Just saying. All right. The last question comes from the Lord Sir Massler, Handler, Fixer, aka the Man of the Year, Mr. James Suddy. Okay. He's a patron. He wrote it in Discord. He said, how do you think the added voice reporting and recording and content ratings to Fortnite will affect gameplay? Do you think this will be an effective strategy for multiplayer games going forward? Trash talk has always been a part of multiplayer gaming, but most people I know do not enjoy it or participate in it. I honestly think that private rooms are much better for a pleasant gaming experience. He's, of course, alluding to the fact that, like, you can now, like, talk to people, systems are coming into play where you can record people in lobbies that are trash talking, being rude, and report them.
Yeah. There's that whole new strike system that Xbox released recently, along with the functionality to be able to report people in voice chat And it's predominantly like people either toxic in your lobby or in the opposing team's lobby. This is really good for Sea of Thieves because as an open world game, you come across other crews and you can only talk to each other in game. Although a lot of people do have private parties that they only talk to, and Xbox separates those two party chats. Like you can't hear in-game voice versus party voice at the same time, like you can through Discord or through like PCs are able to hear like people in lobby, but also people in private chats and stuff like that. So if you're playing something like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty, where you can open up your voice chat to that, you have the opportunity to clip it the way you would normally clip any gameplay, submit it within 24 hours for harassment, and then have that be an actionable report on that person if they are doing something that breaks the terms of service or the code of conduct, honestly. Do I think that this is an effective strategy for multiplayer games going forward? Yes. Trash talk has always been a part of multiplayer gaming, but most people I know don't enjoy it or participate. I think that's a cultural shift. I think as games have become more inclusive to groups that are not male, that we are realizing that what we say is not necessarily in line with how we should be treating people. And I think that that is a cognitive, it's a cognitive decision to try and treat others with respect as opposed to trying to beat them down. Like, because it moved away from couch co-op. It moved away from LAN parties. Now we're talking to complete strangers. Why would you yell some of the stuff that people yell to your buddies on a couch the way to just someone random on the street, to someone at a store? Like you don't do that. It's just not socially acceptable to treat people the way that you might treat your best friends, which also is a kind of an unhealthy thing that you might want to, look at. How do you treat the people that you love the most? And to have systems like this in place is trying to build a better culture in my mind that keeps it so that complete strangers can feel like there is some sort of policing going on when it comes to harassment. Because otherwise it's the Wild West.
I agree with that. I don't enjoy it. I don't even like competition. That's like, I joke with Kev half the time, like about our KDs and stuff, but in reality, I don't have fun when we're talking junk. Like,
you don't even like doing objectives in zombies.
I just, if I turn my brain off, just tell me where to go. I don't care. Tell me what to do. I don't, whatever. So yeah, I got it. That's the end of my statement. Cool.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy that argument or the argument.
The competitive nature. There's something that I think was lost when games went to competitive multiplayer between teams in like competitions and stuff like that, and that was good sportsman-like behavior. I even see that like regressing in actual sports. Like, we're seeing people like being bloodied and attacking each other in NBA games and stuff like that. And it's like, that does not, like, why does trash talk get to the level where now it's like to fisticuffs level? Like, take a step back. It's a game. You're all getting paid to be a performer, whether it's through a sport or playing a video game. You do not have to be a bad person to still be really good at what you do. Let your skill showcase your talent and not your mouth, because nothing you're saying is relevant or going to be remember, like, all you're doing is hurting other people and yourself, because you're hurting your reputation and what people perceive you as people decide like this is not the thing to do. And it's moving away from that familiarity and rapport that you have with your buddies, like teabagging your buddy in Call of Duty or in Halo when it's 4 people on a couch on one TV screen. That's a rapport you have with your friends. That's not something you should be doing to a complete stranger.
I agree. I just don't. understand people that are like that personally.
It's a power thing. It's just a power thing to make them feel better about themselves.
Yeah. Fair point. All right, man. Well, I think that's a good place to stop off here.
Yeah.
There we go.
We went longer than I expected.
We did. It was a chill week, but I find that the Xbox tax argument requires nuance, and so it's worth going into, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'd rather we address it than not address it when everyone else is talking about it, because I think it's important to kind of like let folks know, like, yeah, we do have opinions on this. It just may not align with everyone else's.
Yes, I agree. All right, man. Well, I'm going to ask you to cite where your socials are and where people can find you.
Yeah. Fam, if you guys love what I'm saying or you think that I'm wrong, you can always let me know over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN, on Threads at CAPT_LOGUN. You can find the show Keelhauled, which is the Sea of Thieves podcast that I do every week, on your podcast catcher of choice or on YouTube or Spotify. Otherwise, come hang out with us in the Patreon Discord. We regularly show up there to chat like with other people and have a good conversation. It's just a lot of fun. And I'd love to see more folks pop in and share what they're playing.
Agree. I'll ask anybody to check out patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We really do appreciate the help. If you saved a few bucks on Black Friday and you're able to spare a few bucks to help XEP, it would genuinely mean the world. You can find me on socials at InsipidGhost. I'm having a blast over on Threads and Twitter, chatting with you awesome people. And of course, you can find XEP on all your podcast services and on YouTube. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Take care.